John, let's bring in Tennessee Republican Senator Marsha Blackburn. Senator, great to have you here. Obviously a big day. And you just heard Chuck Schumer speaking from the steps there, saying that the Republican Party is not celebrating today, making the point that perhaps the obvious reaction is that they should be. They're scrambling. How do you respond?
What we are doing today is protecting the integrity of the court. Sandra, this is unprecedented to have a leak like this of a draft document. The confidentiality of the justices to work with one another, to send documents back and forth, to have the discussions and conversations that they need to have, whether it is in-person conversations or written conversations, for someone to betray the trust that has been placed in them to support the work of the Supreme Court of the United States. This is unprecedented, and Chief Justice Roberts is correct in having this investigated. I understand that the Marshal of the Court has indeed initiated that investigation, and I think in short order we will know who did this. They should be punished to the full extent allowable.
Senator, I want to jump to call for number 3 here for the control room, because here's a statement that came from the Supreme Court, which prefaced the statement from John Roberts. They said, although the document described in yesterday's reports is authentic, it does not represent a decision by the court or the final position of any member on the issues in the case. So it's widely posited that this came from the liberal side of the court, that maybe a clerk from the liberal side of the court leaked this, or someone else. But what about the idea that potentially it came from the conservative side of the court to try to lock in the votes that appeared to be there in February? Because if any of the justices were tagged as reversing their vote on the conservative side when the final opinion comes out, they could be open for a lot of criticism. Could this have potentially come from the conservative side of the court?
Whether it came from the left or the right, it is wrong. And this is why the individual who did this, for whatever reason, it is inappropriate to campaign to the Supreme Court. It is inappropriate for these left-of-center groups who have put millions of dollars into this latest round of nomination for a Supreme Court seat. It is wrong for them to be politicizing the court. And of course, these left-of-center dark money groups, Arabella Group, Demand Justice, have been incredibly active in trying to push the court one direction or another. So some of the unprecedented activity that has taken place lately, the president signing the commission of Judge Jackson to the Supreme Court, the way some of these hearings for the federal bench, the appellate courts have been carried out. What you see happening with whether it was Chuck Schumer's comments about earlier decisions to Gorsuch and to Kavanaugh, this is all inappropriate. What conservatives want to see, what I want to see, is constitutionalists that are not activists for the left or the right. I want people who are going to uphold the rule of law and abide by the Constitution.
Jonathan Turley was talking earlier about the damage this does to the court. Senator, listen.
Most of us thought that even though this city is renowned for leaks, there was one place that was a bastion of integrity and confidentiality and, yes, secrecy to allow deliberations to go forward. That's been shattered, and it's going to change the culture of the court.
Obviously a troubling thought there from the professor. Right. Senator, you made a lot of news during Ketanji Brown Jackson's confirmation hearings in a moment where you asked her to define the word woman and what a woman is. Earlier, you were talking to a reporter, and you said how interesting that 2 weeks ago they refused to define a woman, and now today the only thing they want to talk about is protecting a woman's right to choose. What are you trying to say there, Senator?
Well, it shows you how hypocritical they are in looking for ways to tweak whatever the moment is. And then, Sandra, how troubling it is that they immediately politicized the leak. using it to try to push a political activity. And they should be working to protect the integrity of the court. And as Jonathan Turley said, this does damage. I hope it is not irreparable damage. I hope this person is dealt with. It is imperative that we protect the integrity of the court so that they can move forward with these decisions. But the Democrats, look, leaks, they have leaks all over the place. And usually it has to do with legislation. When I chaired the Select Committee on Infant Lives, when I was in the House, we had somebody on the Democrat side that leaked everything before we ever had a hearing, and they tried to coach the witnesses. The Democrats are known for doing this. We've seen it in some of these judicial hearings. What you need to know is that if you are sitting, if you're an associate justice on the Supreme Court, you can have the conversations, whether in person or written, in confidentiality, and that you're not going to have a political activist who's going to go run to their cheerleader in the media and say, put this up. This activist needs to be removed from the court, and this should be an object lesson for everyone associated with the court. Indeed, everyone who is working here in Washington, D.C., that it is imperative that people have the ability, whether they're a judge, a justice, a legislator, to work in confidence.
Senator, go ahead, John.
I was just going to say, clearly this raises an awful lot of questions, Senator. One of those is, what's the political impact of this going to be, and what's the legislative impact of this going to be? President Biden, in a written statement, said earlier today it will fall on our nation's elected officials at all levels of government to protect a woman's right to choose, and it will fall on voters to elect pro-choice officials this November. At the federal level, we will need more pro-choice senators and a pro-choice majority in the House to adopt legislation that codifies Roe, which I will work to pass and sign into law. He vowed today that he's going to hold a vote on the Senate floor to codify a woman's right to choose on this. Where do you see this headed politically? I mean, clearly this is an issue that has been rising in prominence among Democrats, but not necessarily among the electorate. Is this going to put it to the top of the list, or at least close to the top of the list?
What I'm hearing from people is they're more concerned about the integrity of the court right now. They want to see that people are concerned with protecting the integrity of the court. Now, for the president to immediately jump to saying, oh, we're going to codify this, that would take them 60 votes to move forward. They're trying to use this to break the filibuster in the Senate to get their way. There again, you've got this. What are they trying to do to radically transform this government? Filibuster judges, but break the filibuster in the Senate. They want D.C. statehood. They want to federalize elections. This is their socialist
Senator, but you're vowing to hold this leaker accountable, whether they're on the left or the right. You sit on the Senate Judiciary Committee. What are you right now discussing with your colleagues is a way to do that? What sort of investigations do you want to see happen, and by whom? And what is the extent to which you can hold this leaker accountable?
Sandra, the first thing that needs to happen is Justice Roberts needs the support and the ability to have the marshal of the court to move forward with this investigation. The resources that he needs should be made available to him. Once that's done, there will be the opportunity for us to conduct our oversight. The Senate cannot move forward and indict anybody. We can't try anybody. What we're going to do is have to work in concert to make certain that the integrity of our institutions is protected.
Senator, let me jump, if we could, to fuel prices, and specifically diesel, because it seems to really be having an impact in terms of transporting goods across this country and what the price of those goods is for average consumers. Let's take a look back. January 2021, diesel fuel was $2.68 a gallon. Now, in April of this year, it is $5.12 a gallon. You figure that the average big rig holds anywhere between 240 to 300 gallons of gas. Let's go with the lower number. In January 2021, it cost $643 to fill both tanks. In April of this year, it cost $1,228. That's got to have a big impact on so many things.
Oh, it has a tremendous impact on things. And Tennessee is a logistics state, as you well know, John. And we hear this all the time from our truck drivers, whether they're doing the 18-wheelers, the big rigs, or they're doing delivery to grocery stores and convenience stores. The impact of fuel is driving up the cost of everything. And likewise, with hydrocarbons, all of your wrappers, your bags, your plastics, polymers that go into packaging all of that food. And whether it is a gallon of milk or a pound of coffee, you are seeing escalation rates that are far above what the Democrats are claiming as well. It's only 8% inflation. Well, no, when it comes to food, because of the logistics cost, because of the wrapping cost, it is costing much more than that.
All right, so politically then, Senator, noting all of that and knowing that the American people are suffering through this politically, how do you keep pressure on the other party on this issue when there's so many distractions out there and you clearly don't see a game plan by this administration to bring those prices down? How do you handle this as we approach midterm elections as a party?
What we have found is the thing to do is to keep talking to Tennesseans, to let them know where there is an opportunity to rein things in, whether it's securing the southern border or going back to drilling on federal lands or exercising drill permits for federal leases.
But if you flip the Senate, though, if you flip the Senate, what's the plan? You know, if you're able to regain power, how do you bring those prices down? What's the 90-day plan?
Sandra, the first thing you want to do is go back, complete that Keystone Pipeline, provide certainty to the energy markets. Let it be known that you're going to get these drill permits out the door immediately, that you're going to go back to ANWR, you're going to go back to federal lands and drilling, you're going to allow fracking. Doing that, providing that certainty, that's what the energy sector needs. When you talk to people, whether they're independents or wildcatters, or whether they're with bigger oil, what they will tell you, certainty would go a long way right now because they could plan.
Voters are going to want to know what exactly the plan is because this is something that so many...
And that's it.
Yep, absolutely. Senator, thank you very, very much for joining us.
Thank you very much.